the power of a definite decision that changes everything. There comes a moment in every human life when the universe seems to pause, as if holding its breath, waiting for you to decide. It is not a loud moment. It does not arrive with trumpets or fanfare. It slips into the silence between your thoughts, disguised as an ordinary choice. Yet within that moment lies the seed of destiny, the power to alter the course of everything that will ever happen to you. History remembers such moments not for their noise, but for their consequences. One cold December night in 1776, when the American Revolution seemed lost, George Washington made the decision to cross the icy Delaware River. His army was outnumbered, ill-equipped, and on the brink of collapse. Logic said retreat. Fear screamed surrender. But Washington decided otherwise, and that single decision breathed life into a dying cause, changing the fate of a nation. Decisions like this are not reserved for generals and kings. They exist in your life too, in the quiet crossroads you face every day. Will you stay where it is safe, or step into the unknown? Will you cling to excuses, or claim responsibility for everything you desire? Will you drift with the current of circumstance, or rise to command your destiny? Every great life, every towering success, begins not with luck or talent, but with a definite decision. Napoleon Hill called it the starting point of all achievement. Andrew Carnegie called it the supreme power of the human will. It is the difference between those who wish and those who win, between those who talk about dreams and those who live them. You see, most people never decide. They think they do, but what they call a decision is often just a preference dressed in words. They prefer wealth but never commit to building it. They wish for success but never burn their ships to guarantee it. They talk of purpose, but their actions betray hesitation. And hesitation is the silent assassin of destiny. A real decision, a definite decision, is a point of no return. It is Cortez burning his ships on the shores of the New World so his men could never turn back. It is Thomas Edison declaring, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work," because quitting was never an option. It is Walt Disney mortgaging his home and enduring endless rejection because he decided the world would one day believe in his dream as much as he did. Such decisions are not made with the lips, they are made with the soul. They do not live in language, they live in action. And once made, the universe itself seems to conspire to support them. Doors open that were once closed. People appear who once ignored you. Opportunities arise from the chaos. It is as if reality bends to the will of the determined. But here is the truth most never understand: the power of a decision is not in the outcome, it is in the transformation it triggers within you. When you decide with total conviction, you are no longer the same person. You shed the skin of the hesitant. You step into the identity of someone who commands life rather than drifts through it. And life, in turn, responds to that new identity. Henry Ford once said, "The whole secret of a successful life is to find out what one's destiny is to do, and then do it." But Ford did more than say it, he lived it. He was mocked, ridiculed, and told that a gasoline car was a fool's fantasy. Banks refused him, investors abandoned him, experts dismissed him. But Ford had made his decision to build a car for the common man, and once that decision was made, the opinions of others were irrelevant. That single, unwavering choice would change the world and put humanity on wheels. This is the power you hold too. The day you decide, truly decide, not to try, not to hope, not to wish, but to commit without condition to the life you were meant to live, that is the day everything changes. The storms will still come. The mountains will still rise before you. But you will face them as someone unstoppable, because you are no longer negotiating with your dreams. You are no longer dabbling in destiny. You are devoted to it. And that devotion, that burning certainty, is the birthplace of miracles. Because here's a truth whispered through the ages: life does not give its treasures to the uncertain. It does not reveal its riches to the half-committed. It waits patiently for the one who has chosen, fully, fiercely, irreversibly. And when it recognizes that level of resolve, it surrenders everything. But before that surrender comes, the universe will test you. It will place obstacles in your path, not to punish you, but to prove the weight of your decision. It will whisper doubts into your mind and tempt you with easier roads. It will question whether you truly mean what you declared when you said, "I will." And most people, faced with that storm, retreat into the comfort of indecision. They tell themselves, maybe it wasn't meant to be. They rationalize, perhaps now is not the right time. And with those small concessions, they betray the power they once held. But those who rise, those who reshape the world, are the ones who welcome the storm. They understand that resistance is not a sign of failure, it is a sign that the universe is rearranging itself in response to their will. They know that the path of decision is supposed to be hard, because transformation is supposed to be hard. Think of Abraham Lincoln. He faced defeat after defeat, in business, in politics, in life. He lost elections. He was ridiculed, underestimated, even broken by grief. Yet, each time, he made the same decision again, to rise, to serve, to lead. That decision did not change because the circumstances were difficult, it remained because the purpose was stronger than the pain. And in time, that unwavering resolve carried him to the presidency and through one of the greatest moral battles in history. Your life, too, will challenge your decision. It will throw at you moments that seem unfair, trials that feel unbearable. But if your decision is truly definite, if it is carved into the bedrock of your being, then no setback can erase it. Because the decision itself is not about what happens outside you, it is about what changes within you. There is a profound shift that occurs when a person decides with total clarity. The fog of doubt lifts. The noise of distraction fades. The mind, once scattered in 1,000 directions, sharpens into a single, piercing beam of intention. This is the birthplace of focus, not the shallow kind that lasts an hour, but the kind that turns years into stepping stones and setbacks into fuel. Clarity is the companion of decision. When you know exactly what you want, when you commit to it without hesitation, life becomes simpler, not easier, but simpler. You no longer waste energy wondering which path to take. You no longer dilute your power chasing a dozen possibilities. You choose one, and that choice organizes everything. It is said that Alexander the Great wept when there were no more worlds left to conquer. But he did not conquer by chance. From the moment he set his sights on uniting empires, every decision he made, every campaign, every alliance, every march aligned with that singular vision. That is the power of clarity forged by a definite decision. And make no mistake, clarity is not found, it is forged. It emerges from the fire of commitment. Most people wait for clarity before they decide. They say, once I know exactly what I want, I'll go after it. But they have it backwards. You decide first. You choose a direction. And as you move, the path reveals itself. It is like climbing a mountain shrouded in mist. From the base, you cannot see the summit. But as you climb, step by step, rock by rock, the mist begins to part. And suddenly, what once seemed distant and uncertain becomes visible and attainable. This is why the greats never wait for perfect conditions. They decide, and that decision creates the conditions. They do not ask for guarantees, they create them through relentless action. And each step, each move forward, builds momentum. Momentum is the silent ally of decision. Once you begin to move, even small actions compound into unstoppable force. A boulder, once rolling down a hill, no longer needs to be pushed. The decision set it in motion, and momentum carries it forward. The same is true of you. Once you decide, truly decide, you no longer wake up every morning debating what to do. You already know. Your actions are no longer driven by motivation, they are driven by identity. You have become the kind of person who does what is required, not the kind who tries when it's convenient. And here lies a deeper truth, a definite decision does more than set a goal, it transforms who you are. It demands that you rise into the version of yourself capable of living that decision. It pulls you beyond your excuses, beyond your fears, beyond the limitations you once accepted as permanent. It is the furnace in which discipline is forged. Because when the decision is real, discipline is no longer a struggle, it is a necessity. You do not try to be consistent, you must be. You do not hope to show up, you will. Your habits align with your destiny because your destiny is no longer a dream, it is a command you have given to yourself. This is why indecision is the enemy of greatness. It drains your willpower. It divides your attention. It weakens your identity. But once you choose, once you commit beyond all doubt, you reclaim all that wasted energy. And with that energy, you become unstoppable. But even with clarity, momentum, and discipline, there will still come moments that test the very foundation of your decision. Life will not simply roll over and hand you your destiny. It will fight back. It will throw storms in your path, tear down bridges you've built, and sometimes, it will seem as though the universe itself is conspiring against you. This is not misfortune, this is initiation. Every great destiny demands proof of your resolve. And the proof is found in resilience, the capacity to stand back up again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It is about refusing to stay broken. It is Thomas Edison failing thousands of times in pursuit of a light that had never before existed, and each failure sharpening his resolve rather than dulling it. It is Colonel Sanders hearing rejection after rejection for his chicken recipe well into his 60s, and yet refusing to let those rejections define his future. Resilience is the handmaiden of decision. Because when you truly decide, failure ceases to be final, it becomes feedback. Every setback stops being a signal to quit and becomes a lesson to refine. And with each lesson learned, you grow stronger, wiser, more capable. Most people misunderstand resilience. They think it is about sheer willpower, gritting your teeth and enduring endless pain. But real resilience is born from purpose. It is the fire that burns when the reason why is stronger than any excuse to stop. Purpose gives decision its depth. Without purpose, even the strongest determination eventually crumbles. But with purpose, even the weakest person can achieve the impossible. Purpose is the difference between wandering and marching. It is what transforms struggle from suffering into sacrifice, and sacrifice into significance. Think of Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in a prison cell, his body confined but his decision untouched. What gave him the strength to endure such unthinkable conditions? It wasn't anger or ego, it was purpose. A purpose larger than himself. A decision not just to live free, but to see his people free. And when he finally walked out of that cell, the world saw not a prisoner released, but a destiny fulfilled. Your purpose may not be to change nations, but it is no less significant. It is the reason you are here, the deeper why behind your what. And when your decision is rooted in that purpose, no amount of adversity can derail you. Because every challenge becomes part of the story, every wound becomes part of the wisdom, every delay becomes part of the destiny. But purpose alone is not enough. The world is changing faster than ever. The plans you make today might be obsolete tomorrow. The methods that worked yesterday may fail you next year. That is why the most powerful decisions are not rigid, they are adaptable. Adaptability is not abandoning your goal, it is adjusting your strategy. It is knowing that the destination remains the same, but the path may twist and turn in ways you cannot predict. When Henry Ford decided to revolutionize transportation, he did not stubbornly cling to a single design. He iterated, innovated, and adapted until his vision became reality. Too many people confuse decision with inflexibility. They think deciding means locking themselves into one plan forever. But that is not strength, that is stubbornness. True strength is the ability to pivot without losing sight of the summit. It is bending without breaking. It is learning, evolving, and improving without ever abandoning the mission. And here is where the final ingredient of greatness enters: relentless action. Decision without action is a dream. Purpose without movement is potential wasted. Clarity without execution is a map never unfolded. The universe does not reward intention, it rewards action. It responds not to those who speak of what they want, but to those who move toward it with everything they have. And once you begin moving, you realize that action itself creates confidence. Momentum builds certainty. Every small victory becomes proof that you are on the right path. Walt Disney did not build an empire overnight. He drew sketches on napkins. He sold short films. He mortgaged his home. He took small, relentless actions that, over time, compounded into something magical. And when asked about his success, he said simply, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. There is a rhythm to life, a current that carries the committed forward. Action is how you enter that current. Each step you take draws you closer to the life you envisioned the moment you made that decision. And with each step, you are no longer chasing your destiny, you are embodying it. And then something extraordinary happens. The decision that once seemed so bold, so terrifying, so far beyond your reach, becomes who you are. You are no longer a person trying to succeed, you are success in motion. You are no longer a person hoping to live with purpose, you are purpose embodied. You are no longer a person dreaming of transformation, you are transformation itself. Yet even as you stride forward with purpose and relentless action, there is one final element that amplifies the power of your decision, one that turns effort into elevation and struggle into strength. It is gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not naive optimism. It is the alchemy that transforms obstacles into opportunities. When you are grateful, even in the midst of difficulty, you shift your perspective from "why is this happening to me" to "what is this teaching me?" And that shift is everything. Gratitude turns adversity into fuel. It turns rejection into redirection. It turns waiting into preparation. It transforms the darkest nights into the very soil from which your greatest victories will grow. Without gratitude, success becomes hollow. With it, every step, even the painful ones, becomes part of a divine unfolding. Thomas Edison was grateful for every failed experiment because each one brought him closer to success. Walt Disney was grateful for every rejection letter because it sharpened his vision. Oprah Winfrey has often said that gratitude was the bridge that carried her from poverty to prosperity, not because it changed her circumstances overnight, but because it changed her. And that is the secret of gratitude. It keeps your heart aligned with your purpose even when the path is hard. It grounds you when success arrives, so you never lose sight of where you came from. And it fuels you when success is far away, because it reminds you that the journey itself is the reward. But gratitude alone is not the end of the path. As your decision reshapes your life, there comes a point where the external achievements, the wealth, the recognition, the accomplishments, no longer define the journey. At that point, the focus turns inward. The greatest decision of all emerges, the decision to master yourself. Self-mastery is the summit of all achievement. It is the point where you no longer seek victory over the world, you seek victory over your own mind. Because the truth is, every battle you fight externally is first fought within. The enemy is not the competition. It is your doubt. It is your fear. It is your tendency to delay, to shrink, to compromise. Napoleon Hill wrote that the master key to riches is self-discipline. And he was right. Discipline is freedom. It is the power to do what must be done whether you feel like it or not. It is the strength to say no to distractions, to endure discomfort, to act with integrity even when no one is watching. But mastery goes deeper than discipline. It is learning to control not just your actions, but your thoughts. It is training your mind to focus on what you want, not what you fear. It is mastering your emotions so that anger becomes fuel, not fire, so that fear becomes information, not paralysis. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher. Surrounded by chaos, betrayal, and war, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the essence of self-mastery, to remain calm in chaos, strong in struggle, unshakable in uncertainty. And here's the paradox: once you master yourself, the world begins to bend in your favor. Because you are no longer reactive, you are proactive. You are no longer pulled by the whims of circumstance, you shape them. You are no longer a passenger in your story, you are the author. This is the ultimate reward of a definite decision. It is not just the attainment of goals, it is the transformation of identity. The decision you made long ago, perhaps when no one believed in you, perhaps when everything seemed impossible, has now become the foundation of who you are. But the journey doesn't end with self-mastery. It evolves into something even more powerful: leadership. True leadership is not about titles or authority. It is about influence, the kind that comes from living your truth so completely that others are inspired to do the same. When you lead yourself with discipline, vision, and purpose, people notice. They see the fire in your eyes, the certainty in your step, the unwavering nature of your decisions, and they follow. Think of Mahatma Gandhi. He never commanded armies or held political office. But his unwavering decision to pursue freedom through non-violence became a beacon that moved millions. Or Steve Jobs, who once said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." His decision to put a dent in the universe redefined industries and reshaped the future. Leadership is the natural extension of a life built on definite decisions. It is the ripple effect of living with such clarity, courage, and commitment that your very presence becomes a call to action. And in that ripple, your impact extends far beyond yourself. Because the truth is, a decision made with conviction doesn't just change your life, it changes lives around you. It uplifts families. It transforms communities. It shapes generations. The courage you show today becomes the permission someone else needs tomorrow. The standard you set becomes the inspiration someone else rises to meet. And this is where the story comes full circle, because what began as a single decision within you becomes a legacy that lives far beyond you. It starts as a whisper in your soul, but it ends as a roar that echoes across time. Every person who dared to choose, who dared to commit without compromise, has shaped the course of human history. And now, that same power lives within you. But here's the truth most people never face: life is short. The clock is ticking. Every sunrise is one less you will see. Every heartbeat is one closer to your final one. And the question is not whether you will die, the question is whether you will live before you do. Will you spend your days drifting in indecision, forever wondering what might have been? Or will you choose now, in this moment, to draw a line in the sand and say, "This is who I am. This is what I will do. This is the life I will create." That is the power of a definite decision. It is not about waiting for the perfect time, it is about making now the perfect time. It is not about waiting for certainty, it is about creating certainty through action. It is not about waiting for permission, it is about giving yourself permission to rise. The great tragedy of life is not that people aim too high and miss, it is that they aim too low and hit. They settle for comfort over courage, safety over significance. They trade the extraordinary for the familiar because the familiar feels safe. But safety is the enemy of growth. And comfort is the enemy of destiny. Remember, every comfort you now enjoy exists because someone was willing to leave theirs behind. Every invention, every breakthrough, every leap forward in human progress is the child of a decision made by someone who refused to settle. The light bulb. The airplane. The internet. Freedom itself, all born from decisions that defied fear. So ask yourself, here and now, what decision are you avoiding? What dream have you silenced beneath layers of doubt and delay? What vision have you buried under excuses and someday? And most importantly, who might you become if you decided, today, that enough is enough? There is a version of you, stronger, wiser, bolder, that exists on the other side of that decision. It is the version of you who stops negotiating with mediocrity. The version of you who stops apologizing for ambition. The version of you who stops seeking approval and starts commanding destiny. That version is not a fantasy, it is a decision away. But make no mistake, the window is not infinite. Opportunities expire. Doors close. Moments pass. And regret is the heaviest burden a human soul can carry. One day, you will look back on this season of your life and realize that the choices you made or failed to make wrote the story of who you became. And when that day comes, what story will you tell? Will it be one of hesitation and fear? Or one of courage and conviction? Will it be a story of someone who waited for change or someone who became the change? The decision is yours. It always has been. It always will be. Because here is the ultimate truth, the one that underlies everything we've spoken of: your life is nothing more than the sum of the decisions you make. And one decision, one definite, unshakable, irreversible decision, can change everything. It can turn fear into faith. It can turn failure into foundation. It can turn a life of what if into a life of I did. You do not need to know every step of the journey. You do not need to see the entire path. All you need is the courage to decide fully, finally, completely. And once you do, life will meet you halfway. Doors you never knew existed will open. Strength you never knew you had will rise within you. And possibilities you once thought impossible will unfold before your eyes. This is the law of destiny. This is the promise of decision. This is the power that has shaped empires, created industries, birthed revolutions, and turned ordinary men and women into legends. And now, it is your turn. The question is not whether you are capable, you are. The question is not whether you are worthy, you always have been. The question is simply this: will you decide? So here you are, standing at the edge of everything you have been and everything you could become. Behind you lies the story you've already written, the mistakes, the triumphs, the lessons, the regrets. Ahead of you stretches a vast and unwritten future, a blank page waiting for your pen. And in your hand, right now, is the power to write it differently. But you must choose. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Because someday is a thief, a silent assassin that robs you of decades while you wait for perfect conditions that never arrive. Someday is how dreams die quietly, not with a bang, but with a whisper. Today is all you ever have. And today is enough. This moment, this breath, is your chance to rewrite your destiny. To step into the arena of life not as a spectator, but as a creator. To stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the force that changes it. And it all begins with one act, a decision so clear, so absolute, that the universe itself bends to accommodate it. Every mountain conquered, every empire built, every breakthrough achieved began with a single human being saying, I will. Not I'll try. Not I hope. Not if it's meant to be. But I will, no matter the cost. When Martin Luther King Jr. declared, I have a dream, it was not wishful thinking. It was a decision to dedicate his life to a cause greater than himself. When Elon Musk bet everything on SpaceX and Tesla, it was not luck, it was a decision that failure was not an option. When J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter as a single mother living on welfare, it was not a fantasy, it was a decision that her story would not end in struggle. They were no different from you. Flesh and blood. Doubts and fears. Obstacles and critics. The only difference was the power of their decision. And that same power lives in you. Right now, your future is waiting. The relationships you dream of. The career you desire. The impact you long to make. The peace, the purpose, the power, all of it is within reach. But it will not move toward you until you move toward it. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for the world to believe in you. Believe in yourself enough to decide. And when you do, when you commit without condition, the universe will respond. It always does. It will test you, yes. It will challenge you, yes. But it will also guide you. It will align people, places, and possibilities in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. Because decision is the language the universe understands. So stand tall. Lift your eyes from the ground and fix them on the horizon. Feel the pulse of possibility beating beneath your skin. You were not born to drift. You were not born to live and die in mediocrity. You were born to rise, to create, to conquer, to leave behind a legacy that proves you were here. And it begins not with luck. Not with talent. Not with resources. It begins with the courage to choose. Choose to stop being the passenger and become the pilot. Choose to stop wishing and start building. Choose to stop doubting and start doing. Choose to stop existing and start living. Because when you do, when you make that definite decision, you ignite a force far greater than anything you've known. You become unstoppable. Unbreakable. Unstoppable. And one day, you will look back on this moment, this decision, and realize that it was the turning point of your entire life. The day you stopped waiting for the world to change and started changing it yourself. The day you stopped living as a victim of circumstance and became the architect of destiny. The day you stopped wishing for miracles and became one. So decide. Right now. In this breath. With every fiber of your being. Decide that the rest of your life will be the greatest chapter of your story. Decide that fear will no longer dictate your future. Decide that regret will never again touch your soul. Decide that you were meant for more and that you will stop at nothing to claim it. Because once you decide, everything changes. The world shifts. Your life unfolds. And destiny bows to the strength of your will.